Hello, mighty companions. Thank you for showing up for A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. I'm Earl Purdy, and let's remember together. Let's remember some sanity and some truth together. The session that I'm covering in the book is going to be on page 104 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version, which is the blue book. On page 104, and we're going to be on paragraph 3 on page 105 in the Course in Miracles. My name is Earl Purdy, and my purpose is to support people who want to change their mind and they're attracted to the Course in Miracles. It's their path for doing that, and I've been doing it for over 40 years, and so I think that I could be helpful, especially to a student that really wants to learn and focus in on the course. Everybody's, of course, always welcome to watch my classes, but I'm especially wanting to be here and to be helpful for people who actually study A Course in Miracles, because it can be somewhat daunting because it's so different from the way that we're normally taught. And so there's a part of our mind called the ego, as the Course calls it. And that part of our mind does everything in its power to block every single thing that's going to get us out of the problems that we think we have or the challenges that we think we have. And the Course says that part of us is the part of us that wants to be separate and wants to stay separate and wants to be special. And so we're trying to get past our ego, as the Course calls it, and get in touch with our true self, our essence, our real self. So the Course also says there's a certain attitude that you need to take if you're going to get the most out of the Course in Miracles. There's an attitude that you need to have about studying A Course in Miracles and hearing the Course in Miracles. And I start out every class by sharing that. In the workbook it says, the only thing you need to remember is that you need not believe the ideas. So in order to hear these ideas, this is what I want you to remember. Remember that you need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas from A Course in Miracles. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas, you may actively resist some of the ideas. And if you're really hearing this, there are a lot of things that the Course in Miracles says that are so radically different from the way we've been taught that when I say those things, when I go through the book and I don't see any reaction whatsoever, there's a part of me that believes the person really didn't really hear what I just said, because it's just too different. Like the statement that in this section that last week when he says God did not make the body. If you grew up in this society, this culture, and in this world, that is not what you've probably been taught. You probably heard God created the body and that's really what you are. So when someone says something like that and you just have no reaction whatsoever, I believe that at some level that the person really hasn't heard a lot of the radical things that this book is saying. And it makes sense to me because it's so different from what we've been conditioned. And that's the key word. The ego is your conditioning. The ego is your conditioning. The ego is your programming. The ego is your pattern. The ego is who you think you are based on your past learnings and experience. And many people think their self-concept is themselves. You know, it's like when I ask you who you are, and you tell me who you are, the Course in Miracles would say what? It would say, you're not telling me what you are, you're telling me what you think you are. You're telling me what you were programmed to believe you are. So that would mean, in most cases, when you're talking to people, you're not really talking to them. You're really just talking to their programming. You're really just talking to what they've learned and what they believe and what they've taught themselves. But they'll talk to you as if that's really them. Right? So the Course calls that the ego. And then it says, but you have a true self that is spirit. You have a spiritual existence. You have a spiritual being. You have a divine being. You have a loving self. You have a real self. And your true self is innocent, sinless, guiltless, loved, loving, lovable, infinitely intelligent, does not get angry and upset, does not worry, does not get jealous, that is not insecure, that is not out just trying to get power, money, fame, and physical pleasure. If your biggest aspiration is for power, money, fame, and physical pleasure, you are totally, from A Course in Miracles perspective, acting from your ego. You're wrong. Your ego might be worried about how you're going to pay your bills, but your true self isn't. So if that's true, I'm kind of out of touch with what I really am, right? And so the Course is saying to us, well, I'm going to teach you the lessons that God is trying to teach, the lessons that God is trying to teach you, the lessons that your divine self, what is he trying to teach you? That's what I'm covering right now, the lessons of the Holy Spirit. If you want to give that a modern language translation, call it the lessons of my loving right mind. The Course in Miracles defines the Holy Spirit as your loving right mind, your sane mind. So the Course in Miracles says we have a sane mind, and we also have an insane part of our mind. And it says we don't know how to tell the difference between when we're listening to the voice of God and truth and when we're listening to the ego. And so the purpose of the Course is to teach you how to tell the difference between when you're listening to the wrong voice in yourself and others and when you're listening to the correct voice in yourself and others. So if someone is talking to you and they're coming from a totally fearful, angry projection, us versus them perspective within yourself or others, you know you're listening to the ego talk to you right now, and you know you're listening to your own ego talking to you right now. I was reading the other day and it said, if you are afraid about anything, the fear is not coming from the thing that you think may have happened in the past or the thing that you are anticipating happening in the future. He says the fear that you have or the worry that you have is coming from what you're telling yourself at the moment you're feeling angry, upset, and afraid. If I'm thinking about something that my boss did on Friday and I'm making myself upset about it, it isn't what my boss did on Friday that's making me feel upset right now. It's what I'm telling myself right now that's upsetting me right now. Because the only thing you're being affected by is your own thoughts. That's it. It is not what your boss did on Friday that's upsetting you. What's upsetting you? What you're telling yourself that happened on Friday. Your interpretation of the situation that happened with your kid. If you're telling yourself right now something that upsets you, I repeat, you're upset because of what you're telling yourself right now. So I've gotten to the point that the minute I find myself worrying or feeling anxiety or anger, I go, okay, Purdy, stop. Why? Because you are not in the present moment. You are actually telling yourself something that you're anticipating that might happen in the future. That's why you're worried. That's why you're upset. Or you're thinking about something that happened in the past right now. And that's what's got you feeling angry. But when you use the present moment and you interpret the present moment in past terms, you're going to project it into the future and meet it again in your experience. I'll say it again. If you're using the right now moment to remember everything somebody did that went wrong, it didn't go the way you wanted it to go in the past. And when I say the past, I could be talking about to 1 minute ago. When I say the past, I'm not talking all the way back to your childhood. You don't have to go back that far. Right? All right. If I'm sitting up here right now and I'm thinking about global warming and what that might mean 10 years from now, but I'm making myself upset about it, what's upsetting me is what I'm telling myself about what I think might happen in 10 years. Well, are you saying you shouldn't be concerned about those things? I'm saying you should be aware and then use the now moment to do something about it. Right now, in the present. Have you noticed that we've divided a lot into tribes and groups now? That is my group versus your group. And if you don't think the way I think, now you're an enemy. Where back in the day, it used to be people seemed more able to have a divergent opinions and ways of looking at things, and people were more tolerant of it. You know, I wasn't your enemy because I was a Democrat. I was not your enemy because I was a Republican. I wasn't your enemy because I have black skin. I wasn't your enemy because I was a Northerner and you was you know, if you notice right now, not everybody, but many people are in their camps. And that's what the Course in Miracles is teaching us, is that you all's only problem is separation. He says that's y'all's problem, is you think you're separate and you think you're different. And everybody's got their perception of what the latest conspiracy theory about everything is about everything, right? But I always ask people, okay, you have a right to believe all these different things are going on. The question I always ask is, what are you going to do about it? Okay, I hear you pointing out everything you think is wrong. What are you doing about it? What are you doing to make this a better world? What are you doing to make it more loving? It's easy to sit up and point out what everybody else is doing, because the Course in Miracles teaches that that's a form of specialness. That's the way to make yourself feel superior, to make yourself feel special. I'm the one that cares and everybody else doesn't. I'm the one that, you know, what in the Course in Miracles, so let's break it down. That's just you wanting to be special. It's you wanting to make yourself special by making someone else inferior. It's a false way of trying to make yourself feel good. So my question always to all of us who are good at pointing out the problems and pointing out the conspiracies and who's doing everything wrong, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to bring more love and peace and harmony? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to practice what my spiritual path that I have chosen is teaching me about how to handle the situations that come up in my life. I've studied the Course and taught the Course 42 years. Believe me, I'm more intelligent than to do something for 4 decades that I've seen no benefit from. Give me that much credit. That I wouldn't be studying a book for 40 years, have quit a corporate job 40 years ago to teach something that I saw no validity in. It's the same thing I tell people in terms of my study and practice of astrology. Give me a little credit. I would not be doing that if I never saw anything about it that was true for 40 years. So the person that's judging that is always the person who is basing their judgments on their personal experience and their personal knowledge. And if you haven't actually studied it, then you really don't know what the hell you're talking about. And that's what the Course is making me aware of, that my opinions, they are not necessarily true. And then it's saying to me, the way you can tell when your thoughts are not true is by the degree of peace you have. So the Course in Miracles says, let's keep this simple. You all want to make it complicated. I want you to think about what's going on in your life right now in every area. Just better yet, pick one thing. And that one area that you think you're not pleased in and that you wish were different. And the first thing to tell yourself is, I hope I'm wrong about this. I don't like the way I feel right now about my mate. I hope I'm wrong about everything that I'm telling myself about relationships right now. It seems like I can't have peaceful relationships. If I'm perceiving lack in my life and I think there's not enough and I'm just living where I have just enough, that there's no room, there's no wiggle room. It said the average American has $400 in their savings. Isn't that the trip? The average American has $400 in their savings. They can't survive 1 month of not being able to pay their rent. That is not God's will. That is not God's will. That is not the will of spirit for you to be barely making it. So what should I be saying about my financial situation if I'm in that situation? I should be saying to myself, I hope I'm wrong about this. He said that's the first step to getting out of a situation, is wanting to be wrong about the thing you're most miserable about and not make it be you got to be right about how you see it. So remember, you will find some of these ideas hard to believe. I hope so. And some of these ideas will startle you. And here's the thing I like to say to people after 4 decades. Please, if there's any way that you can stop analyzing A Course in Miracles, stop it. I'm just making suggestions from all the time I've been working with this. When you analyze A Course in Miracles, you destroy the meaning of it. And this is not Earl Purdy's opinions. I'm quoting what's in the book. So if you're in A Course in Miracles group, and these are just suggestions, I'm not criticizing anybody, but if all you all do is sit around and analyze what the Course in Miracles is saying, you are doing the exact opposite of what this book says you should be doing if you want to learn it. So what is the book saying that I need to do if I want to learn it? He said, well, if you want to learn this, start out believing you don't need to believe it, that you don't have to necessarily accept it, that you're going to resist some of the ideas maybe. Some of the ideas are going to be hard to believe. Some of them are going to startle you, but you are not asked to judge the ideas. It's their use that will give the ideas meaning to you. He says, and will show you that the ideas are true. Using it will show you that the ideas are true. Another thing I like to remind everyone of, and there are literally thousands of people that watch these videos. It's so interesting. It's so interesting to see at the end of the month when they give me the analytics back. And that's the Holy Spirit doing that. It came into my life unexpectedly. I was in a bookstore, and a young lady walked up to me and asked me if I had ever heard of the Course in Miracles back in 1997. And I told her I hadn't ever heard of A Course in Miracles. And she showed me the book, and I read a couple of paragraphs. And the first thing I said was, what the hell did I just read? It looks like English. It looks exactly like English, but I just got through reading 2 paragraphs, and I literally don't know what I just got through reading. And then it was using this Christian terminology, Christ and heaven and Holy Spirit and sin and fear, using all those Christian terms I learned as a Southern Baptist growing up in the South. And so, since I had gotten into metaphysics and New Thought, I was used to using gender-neutral terms. God was the great all that is, the all that was, the was that was, one was, this is it, the all that is, spirit. I was using everything but the word God, and certainly wasn't going to say the word Jesus because of my programming, because of the way that I had been brought up, which was a fearful conception of Jesus, God, all that stuff. And what was really interesting from a racial perspective, growing up in the black body in the South, was I go to church on Sunday surrounded by other black folk, but the Jesus we was praying to was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, which was deep. Think about that. I know if you're in a white body, it's hard to relate to how people who are not in the white body perceive things. Because one of the things I've noticed is that there's sometimes when you want to watch people get uncomfortable, start saying anything that's got to do with anything that's racial. I watch it even in the New Thought community. The minute you mention anything racial, people get uncomfortable. You know, and then I get something like, well, I never noticed you were black. And then I go, are you blind? You're not impressing me by saying that. Even though I know what you mean by that, is that my color doesn't matter. But don't tell me you never noticed I was in the black. Come on now, get real. So, you know, come on. You definitely noticed that I was black, you know. And there's no problem. I don't have a problem with that. That's the other thing you have to understand. You haven't insulted me. This is like you insulted me by saying that I appear to be a man of color. I don't believe I'm a man of color. I don't even believe I'm a man. Try 40 years of studying the course. You will not be looking at yourself, if you really apply it, you will not be looking at yourself in terms of your gender or your body or your sex or your race, because all of those are just labels applied to the body that you've identified with and you say is you. But once you realize you're a spirit and your body is a means for you to communicate and your body is a means for you to join, it is your flesh suit in this environment, just like somebody who's deep sea diving would have their outfit to wear. This is your outfit to wear in this reality. It is not you. And you'll get to the point on a certain point in your spiritual path that you will start to feel weird when you say to somebody, you know, you are your body. You know, I'm looking at you. And I'm never looking at you. I haven't seen one person that I've ever seen all my life in a body. I see the way you communicate. I see your flesh suit. That's just like saying, I am my pants. When you say you are the body and you judge yourself about how your body look and the shape of your body and the age of your body, when you do any of that stuff, you are being unconscious. My sister just had her 81st birthday, and we were talking about how it's really interesting that she can't relate to it at all in terms of how she feels in her essential nature, in her essential self. So you get to a point that you know that you're the same being you were when you were a child, your inner being, but your body is changing around you. That's the only thing that's happening. Your body is changing because it's not real. Your body is changing, and what else is changing? Your ego. And then what is my ego? My self-concept, who I think I am. That's what's changed all my life. It's who I think I am and my body. You're neither one of them. And so this book is saying to us that the only thing you need to correct is your perception, because the only thing that can ever be wrong is your perception. What he said, there's a line in the Course in Miracles where he says, if you're sick, if you're physically ill, if you're sick, never ask for your body to be healed. Do you think it's a pretty popular notion among humans to ask their body to be healed when they're sick?
Yeah.
That seems normal, doesn't it? Well, that should be our clue that doesn't work. Because even people who've never picked up a spiritual metaphysical book ask for their bodies to be healed. So when it said that, at first I went, ooh, that's startling. Well, he says, what I told you was going to be startling. That was what I told you. It's going to be startling. Well, that's hard to believe, that asking for my body to be healed isn't the way to go. I told you this was going to be hard to believe. I don't welcome the idea of even hearing the word Jesus. Yeah, I told you that you might not accept some of these ideas. Right, then he goes, well, how do I get to the point that I know it's right? He said, well, their use will give the ideas. Meaning, and will show you that the ideas are true. But the ego, the wrong-minded perspective of learning is, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to judge what you're saying to me. And if I agree with what you're saying, it's true. If Earl of the Course says something that I don't agree with, that's false. Can you see the error in that? The error in that is, suppose you're wrong. And then the Court says, well, how can I know I'm wrong? How can I know I'm wrong? By how you feel. Well, I feel upset, angry, and depressed most of the day. You're wrong most of the day. What? I'm not wrong. You don't know what my mama did to me. You are still wrong. What do you mean I'm wrong? Because the way you're looking at it isn't giving you any joy. I'm not saying that your mom didn't smack you across the face. I'm saying that if you're still upset about it today, you're wrong. You're looking at something incorrectly. That's what wrong means. It means wrong perception. So then he goes, well, don't ask for the healing of your body. Don't ask for the healing of your body. So what should I do when I'm sick? Well, he says, instead of asking for the healing of your body, I'm going to give you the answer. What I want you to start doing is ask for the correct perception of your body. I feel physically ill. I need the correct perception of my body. I didn't say, I want you to heal my body, Lord. I said, I want you to give me the correct perception of my body, because it's the way that I'm looking at it that's causing my upset. It's possible to be physically ill and not be upset about it. It's possible there are people who are quadriplegics that are in wheelchairs who have more peace than people with a regular healthy body walking up and down the street. Because they know that the way they are perceiving their body is going to determine how they're feeling. So first you perceive your sickness, and then the Court says, well then, how should I perceive my sickness? I'm asking for a correct perception of the body. And by the way, you can apply this to anything. You can apply this to your relationship. You got a relationship issue right now with somebody? Stop asking the universe to heal that relationship. Stop asking the Holy Spirit to heal your relationship. Ask your sane right mind to give you the correct perception and interpretations of relationships. What I need is another perception, especially before I get into the next one. Because I've noticed that people have a tendency to think, because they let a long period of time pass between when they make a mistake, they're going to make the mistake less. You know, I had a relationship, it didn't go right. So it was 2 years before I gave myself a new relationship. And I think that since 2 years passed, it's going to be different this time. Not because I went to any training, not because I've done any kind of studying, not because I've gone to any kind of workshop, had counseling, something to give me another perception of relationship. I didn't do any of that in the 2 years. I just let 2 years pass by. So now I think that now I'm ready for another one. And in that 2 years, I probably forgot the lessons that I learned from that relationship right then. That's what's making me think I'm ready for another. It's like how people have babies. I don't get it. It's hard for me to imagine how you can go through the kind of pain that I see and hear about that women go through childbirth and then 2 seconds later, 3 months later go, I'm ready for another one. That's amazing to me because they've forgotten it, and for whatever reason, something kicks in that makes you go, I want to do that again. My mama did it 7 times. It just amazes me. If it depended on me as a woman, there would be no one in the world. And more people making that decision. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that a lot less than it used to happen. Right? So my point is, if you have a financial problem right now, ask for the correct perception of finances. Ask, because your problem is separation, whether you can say it's the separation from the truth. Right? So there's nothing you're going through right now that hasn't already been the way to look at it. It's like the Course says, let me recognize the problem has already been solved. You know, if I have a flat tire, the problem has already been solved because the way to deal with flat tires has already happened. You see what I'm saying? When he says that you recognize the problem has been solved, to me he's talking about, let me recognize that the answer to this has already been given you. So it has been solved. Now, will you do what's necessary? Well, what I've learned so much as a teacher, is that, and I'm going to say this, and it's not going to sound positive, but doggone it, I got 40 years under my belt of watching people and watching myself. 99% of people do not change unless they suffer. It's sad. I wish it wasn't true, but my experience, people who are sort of happy, they don't have the crappiest relationship, but they also don't have the most ecstatic one. They don't have the crappiest job, but they don't really have the one that inspires them. The ones that are like sort of happy, they change the slowest. But the person that's got their butt in the fire, they'll go, there must be a better way. When you're really ready to leave a relationship and you know it's not good for you and you know it's not the best thing, for example, you will give them every freaking thing in the house. You would no more make your freedom and your happiness, you won't hold it back because of material things. I'm not saying you shouldn't go for what you think is yours rightfully. But I'm also saying, for those of you out here know what I'm talking about, when you reach your limit, you change. You go in another direction. So the Course in Miracles is saying to us that you need to get in touch with the Holy Spirit. And when he says get in touch with the Holy Spirit, he's talking about get in touch with the part of you that does know. Get in touch with the part of you that is sane, the part of you that is divine, the part of you that really does love people. Do not pay attention to your self-concept and let your self-concept guide you. What do you mean, Earl? Don't let who you think you are be your guide if you are unhappy or you don't have peace most of the time. That means that your self-concept is not correct and you should stop listening to yourself. When you're most upset is when you should listen to yourself the least. That's when you should go to your truth, your meditation, your spiritual path. Go to listen to a class. Don't listen to you. You are making up when you are upset. These are little things. I'm telling you, I've worked with people a long time. You're going to come to these conclusions that I'm giving you right now. I spend no time trying to change people anymore, consciously. Every time I think my happiness is dependent on what somebody else does or does not do, I pray to God right then and there to let me be quiet, make my goal, not how I can get this person to do what I want them to do, but how can I put my energy into it not mattering if they do what I want them to do as far as my peace is concerned. So that's where I work now. I tell Spirit, first of all, I want you to decide what I should have for me and then give it to me in whatever form you want to give it to me in. See, that's what you end up doing after decades. You go, would you give me what you want me to have the way you want me to have it, God? And then he says the other prayer you have when you wake up is you will pray not for things. You will pray to be able to recognize what you already have. Your prayer won't be for a house. Your prayer will be, I want to be able to recognize the blessings and the happiness and the peace and the joy that's already there, that's already available, that I can have right now. So again, these are just things we're being told. It's not saying we're at that point yet. Like he says, read me slowly, do this slowly. Because it only takes one idea that you work consistently to get the miracles. I'll say it again. All it takes is taking one idea you hear me say today out of this book and apply it consistently to move into the peace that this book promises. That's why the emphasis is on remembering it. And I call myself the repetition teacher and the remembering coach, because it's more important that you remember something about what I said than analyzing or thinking you need to understand it. You don't have to understand it. If you ask me how to start my car, I know nothing about fixing cars. All I need to know, if I want to drive it, I need to put the key in the ignition. I got a car that's that old. That you need to put the key in the ignition to crank the car. So it's more important for me to remember how to crank the car up than how ignitions work. Y'all follow what I'm saying? We see our ego get us caught up. Well, how did that happen? How did we get separate from God? How did I do this? How? He said, no, I want to tell you that if you want to get out of this, I want to tell you that if you will remember what I'm telling you and think the way I'm telling you to think, and if you will say the things that I'm telling you to say to yourself, you will get the change of perception. You will get the miracle. And I want you to say it, whether you believe it, accept it, welcome it. I want you to just say this. And it is amazing how many people will not do that one simple thing. If he says, say, I rest in God. And then at the end of the day, I go, how many times did I actually say that today after doing the work? Well, none. And all he asked me to do was say this. And so I started to do it. I started to just say the stuff. I memorized a lot of the prayers. And I just started saying them regardless of how I was feeling or whether I believed it. And I started to perceive miracles of healing and change in my life. It tripped me out how everything that the course was promising started to happen when I did what it said without feeling like I had to understand it or even agree with it. That's what blew my mind. Because I thought my understanding was somehow making it work. So I would be busy trying to understand it. Like, for instance, when he says on page 105, I have said that the Holy Spirit is the motivation for miracles. So that means what? He said, and he's only talking about love and fear. So you could say, I have said that love is the motivation for miracles. Then you go, what is a miracle? And then he says, well, a miracle is right-mindedness, an expression of love. So you have to take the time to remember what you're being told. So he's basically saying, if we have correct and right perception, it's a miracle. If I forgive somebody that I think has hurt me and I let that go, it's a miracle. Have you ever been really helpful to somebody and kind to somebody and they gave you gifts, you gave them gifts, you had an incredible time together, and then something comes up and then you act like that was the whole relationship? All of a sudden that person has become the last thing that happened between you all. You forgot when they were at the hospital next to you when you had super diarrhea. You forgot that they were the one to pick you up that morning when your car wouldn't start. All of a sudden, they become the last thing they did that's upsetting you about them. And you'll talk like they're this horrible person now. And what did the Course make me aware of? It made me aware of that your sin, your so-called sin, is always, you didn't do what I wanted you to do the way I wanted you to do it. That's your sin. With all the people that's upset with you about anything, they're upset with you because they could not control you. And we're so ingenious at the ego that we'll call it, you're selfish. If you don't do what I want you to do the way I want you to do it, you're a selfish person. Right? So stop feeling guilty about everybody you think is upset with you about something. You just did not act out their script. Why am I saying that over and over again? Can you imagine how many times I've said the stuff that I'm saying to you in 4 decades? You know why I keep doing it? Because the more I say it, the more love and peace and harmony comes into my life. Because it's through repetition that you change your mind. It's through repetition that you change your mind. Not through analyzation, it's through repetition. Some people love my style of teaching. Some people don't. You know, there was a time when a person came to my class, I was doing everything but setting myself on fire in front of the room. I was so entertaining. But that's all they remembered, was the entertainment. They didn't remember that I was saying very profound stuff. So it became, I want you to entertain me. I don't mind being entertaining. It's my natural nature to have fun. I don't have to try to do that. But I'm much more interested in people hearing what the Course in Miracles is saying. I'm a Course in Miracles teacher. I'm not Sammy Davis Jr. For those who know, I'm old enough to know what I'm talking about. Some younger people are like, Sammy Davis, who? Yeah, I'm old enough to remember Ed Sullivan. Nah. That's scary, isn't it? Seeing black people on TV was so rare when I was a kid that if a black person was on TV, the black people in the neighborhood would all get in touch with each other and say, there's a black person on TV tonight. That's how rare it was to be seen when I was a kid. Think about that. There was no me anywhere. There was no me in a magazine, there was no me on newspaper, and there was no me in the movie, and there was, you know what I'm saying? And so you're looking at that. Imagine the impact that that has on your self-image and your self-esteem. Why am I saying this? Because that helped form my conditioning, my patterns, the way I look at things. So when you look at me, according to the Course, he said, you are not seeing me. You are seeing what you learned about people who look like me. And if I was, quote unquote, white people in parts of the country that there are no black people, and there's lots of the country that there's not, that you find out as a black person that you didn't realize, you really are a minority. Okay? Then I can understand why a lot of them would be terrified with the kind of negative images that are being portrayed all the time. And that's true of Latinos, black, a lot of people. If people are sitting back and all they're doing is looking at the images that are being projected in front of them, of me and of people like me, I understand why sometimes when I get off an elevator, a white woman will jump back when they wasn't expecting me. Interesting. So what's my point? When I realize the misperceptions, when I ask for another way to look at it, when I recognize that we're coming from our ego, our past learning, our past programming, then it helps me get past any kind of prejudice or upset that I would be having toward people who are not seeing me correctly. So therefore, 90% of the time in my ministry, the students that I have taught, 95% of them have been in white bodies. Even when I taught in the South, why? Because Spirit was using me to help change perceptions. Because he says through communication and joining, we get past our prejudices and we get past our misperceptions. As long as we stay separate from each other, we are not going to heal. And so therefore, now my ministry has become much more diverse, which is interesting. But that just happened within the last 4 or 5 years. It's interesting. So I'm saying to you that the Holy Spirit is the motivation for your right perception. So what does the Holy Spirit tell you? Then the Course will go, what would your right mind, your divine mind tell you? He says it will tell you that only the mind is real. It is only your mind that is real. What? It's only your mind that is real. Now, why is it that your mind is real? He says because your mind can be shared. The ideas in your mind can be shared. I can give you the idea of going to the movie. You can go, I'm going to go to the movie with you. I just shared that idea. Now that idea of going to the movie is what? Bigger. Now 2 of us had it. But I still got the idea of going to the movie. So when you share ideas, they are real. The idea behind microphones will make unlimited number of microphones. But this microphone itself is temporary. This physical microphone is temporary. The idea that creates microphones, that idea still lives and will create what? I could go down to the store and get a what? Another microphone. So this is the question I wanted to ask you. So therefore, is the microphone real or is the idea of microphones what's real? Dun, 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 dun. The idea.
Impermanent is real. The mind.
Right, and the mind, that's right. So the Course is trying to get us to understand what's real is the thought, what's real is the mind, because that can be shared. So when the Course told me God was an idea, first, when I read that in the book, he says God is an idea. That kind of freaked me out because my mind kind of thinks of ideas not being as real as the physical is, right? And so he says, and if God is an idea, that means you are an idea. And I mean, what? Yeah, you are an idea in the mind of God. You are an idea. So you can share yourself without ever losing. Just like you can share the idea of the movie without losing the idea of the movie. My point is that our right mind is trying to tell us that only the mind is real, and what makes the mind real is it's something you can share. I can share my thoughts with you a lot easier than I can share my body with you. It's much harder to share my body with you than my thoughts with you. Explains my dating life. Okay. And when you realize that everything that's happening to you, he said last week that life is of the mind. So really everything that you're experiencing is happening in your mind anyway. Everything, how much you enjoyed me is in your mind anyway. So the Course is saying the mind is real because it's the mind that can be shared. The body is separate. Then people go, I don't understand. It's so obvious. Is my body not separate from your bodies? Okay, that's what it just said. The body is separate. Right? Then it says, therefore, the body cannot be part of you. Your body isn't a part of you. Your body is not you. Your body is not you. Your body is not a part of you. Your body is not a part of you. To be of one mind means something. Right. Me and you being of a common state of mind, me and you being of one mind, me and you joining in love, thoughts of love and truth in our mind, that means something. If you and I can communicate, that means something. If you're in a relationship where you communicate with each other, where you join minds with each other, that relationship will last forever. So the body is separate, but our minds are one. And so it says so that means by the laws of mind, notice it says, by the laws of mind, the body is meaningless. By the law, the body doesn't mean anything. You can have the prettiest body in the world and just be so dumb. You can have the prettiest body, a person can have the prettiest body in the world and be so mean and so selfish and so unkind, but their body looks good. So I realized if I would put as much time and energy and attention into my thinking in my mind as I used to put into my body, then I would have the better reality, because it's my mind that's creating my reality. It's my mind that's creating my perception of reality. My experience that I'm going through in the world right now is coming from my mind. The experiences that you're going through in the world right now is coming from your mind. The experiences that you are perceiving, everything that you're seeing, everything that you're feeling, everything that's happening in your life is happening in your mind. It's being created from your mind. It's being created from your thoughts. Your body didn't get you in that relationship. It was your body you were trying to use to get you out of it. It's the one that you used to hit that gas pedal to get the heck away from there. The body is just going to carry out your orders. The body is your slave. It carries out your orders. It does everything you tell it to do, and it doesn't do the things you don't tell it to do. And the Course in Miracles teaches that your body never made one decision about what you've ever done any time in your life. So when you hear somebody say, the body made me do it, that's a lie. The body is not making you eat. If you're saying you want to cut back on what you eat, it is not your body that's making you pick up that extra sandwich. The body is just following the orders you gave to pick up the extra sandwich. It was your mind that made the decision to eat the sandwich. So it's your mind that has the power. So if everything comes from an idea, And an idea becomes stronger the more who share the idea, right? That's how elections happen. The more who share the idea and acts on it wins. So if you have weak thoughts of love, weak thoughts of your abundance, you have weak thoughts of peace, you have weak thoughts of happiness and joy, that you have a more negative perspective than you have of a more aware, loving, what we would call positive perspective, then your loving thoughts and your healing thoughts and your abundant thoughts are weak. And if all you talk about is what needs to be different and what's wrong in the world and what's going bad in the world and what you're not happy about, remember, mind is the builder. It's what's real. So the more you focus on those thoughts, then the stronger those thoughts become. And the stronger those thoughts become, the faster they draw other people who have those thoughts. And also you manifest your perception of those thoughts. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. So what do you need to do? I need to increase the strength of my thoughts of God, my thoughts of love, my thoughts of abundance, and my thoughts of innocence. Well, how do I do that? Well, you do it by focusing in on it. You don't need anybody else in that sense. You can focus in on the truth by yourself, on your own, through your own study, meditation, and focus. That changes your level of consciousness. When you change your level of consciousness, you draw like-minded perceptions and experiences that correspond with that. People hear that all the time, but one day you will hear it. You will really hear it. And when you hear it, you won't be the one trying to come up with the next thing for you to do. That's what I love about the Course. It says, I want you to realize you're creating your experience through your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and beliefs, and I'm not trying to get you to understand so you can come up with some new thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. It was your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs that created the stuff that's making you unhappy right now. I want you to resign. You need to resign. First of all, you don't really know what makes you happy, Purdy. You don't really know what's making. That's why you've been going from thing to thing from the day you was born. Because you have no earthly idea of what will really make you happy. So the Course in Miracles says, what you're doing is pursuing your wishes. See, it says, what you're looking at all day long is everybody around you, they're just pursuing their wishes. They wish for something, and then they spend all their time trying to pursue it and to manifest it. That's all you see people doing who are not awake yet. They are making up what they think will make them happy, and then they go after it. It's so simple, but it's so true. We call it our goals. And that would be okay, except you're going to assign a role. He says, it would be okay in a way, except that you're going to assign a role to everybody you know that they're supposed to play to make your dream and fantasy come true. So you start saying, if you really love me, this is what you would do. And you would be supporting me in this way. So all of a sudden you use your own wish to start creating grievances with everybody around you in terms of feeling like they're not, for some people, in terms of feeling like they're not really supporting what you're doing. But you really assigned a role to them that you didn't even ask them if they wanted to play. And then you condemn them for not doing it. So what's going to make the easier life? Me trying to figure out how to get all of you to do what I want you to do, or for me to change my mind to the point, I don't care if you do what I want you to do. You don't have to do what I want you to do in order for me to be happy. A smart person is working on using their mind to get to the point that they feel so centered in themselves that what other people do and don't do does not affect their peace. That's what I'm working on. I ask Spirit, I said, look, I just asked for this thing over here. And if I can't have it, or I'm not supposed to have it, take away my desire for it, please. I don't try to find out, well, tell me how I can get that to happen the way that I want it to. I don't say that. I go, because I know if it's something I'm supposed to have, I cannot not have it. See, I've learned that Spirit will always bring into my life exactly what it is that's best for me that I need to have. That's what the Course is telling me. The Holy Spirit, your loving right mind, it knows exactly what you need, where it's located, how to receive it, and it will send it to you. That's what this book says. That something that Spirit is behind, the obstacles will be removed before you even get to them. And I read that and I went, wow, well, it's so easy to tell what's my plan and what's God's. If I'm struggling all the time, I'm trying to follow whose plan? Earl's plan. I could not have the partner or relationship that was for me, that was really sent to me from Spirit. There's nothing I could do to not have that show up. But sometimes Spirit loves you so much, it won't send you that relationship until a certain time when you're ready to use it for more love and joy and unity and oneness. You don't have a relationship right now and you panning away about that, you don't need one right now. The Course in Miracles also told me that. Spirit said, no one is absent who you need. No one is absent who you need. And the people that you need, they're going to show up. He says they're going to show up, and they're going to show up with a lesson in love that you can learn that very day. See, the Course in Miracles says this is what's going to happen when you're in your right mind. This is the way you're going to look at relationships when you're in your right mind. How can I tell when I'm in a relationship that is a divine relationship that I'm conscious of? It'll be a relationship that you have a common state of mind, that you have a common purpose, and number one, your goal is for each other to be a perfect shelter for each other to grow in. You're going to be the safest thing they could ever be around. You're going to be the one that supports their freedom, who they are, and their spiritual path, and not be using them just to try to satisfy your fantasies, your needs. I'm in a holy relationship with you means I'm going to do everything in my power to remind you that you're not guilty, that you're not bad, that you're not lacking, that you do deserve to be happy. What can I do to support that you're trying to do to be happy? I'm not going to be thinking of it in terms of how what you want to do is going to somehow deny me what I think I need. The Course in Miracles taught me, so you know how to tell when a person is not really interested in who you really are the way that they should be, then they're only concerned about whatever you're learning or whatever you're doing. Their only concern is this, is what you're doing right now going to bring you closer to me physically and keep you in my presence? Or is what you're thinking about right now going to somehow separate you from me and keep you from being around me? So if you go into that Course in Miracles class and it helps you become closer to me and do me be more happy, and it's helping me and it's doing what I want you to do in a way, that Course in Miracles class you go to sounds weird, but that's pretty cool. But if you go into that class and this dude is teaching you something that makes you come home and not be under my control and not let me guilt you, trip you, and not let me control you, then this is a cult. I want to get you away from him as fast as I can, because whatever he's teaching you is taking you from under my thumb, under my ego, and under my control. And that's as much as I'm concerned about what you're learning. Is it gonna help you be more the way I want you to be, or is it going to make you not the way I want you to be? And I want to tell you, if you're a short-tempered person, like I used to be, if you're a short-tempered person, you got a lot of scripts for people. You got a lot of scripts for people that you're going to need to let go of. Your anger is coming from them not acting the way you want them to act according to the script you've written for them. And if you're quick to go from peace to anger, then you have a lot of patterns that you have not worked through yet. You have a lot of programming that you need to let go of yet. So, Earl, what do I do then? What do I do when I find myself, as soon as you find yourself getting angry and upset, pause, breathe, and be quiet. So don't say you didn't just get an answer to how to handle anger and upset. I'll say it again. Because as soon as you feel your anger coming up according to, of course, the truth, you are wrong. You're the one that's wrong. But what about, they needed to do it differently. I wanted them to do it that way, and I got irritated because they always do blah, 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 blah. Your anger is wrong. It's not justified. Then people go, what do you mean? It's not justified because there's another way you could look at it that would not make you angry. It's not justified because you don't have to be angry. That's what I mean when I say it's not justified. It's not justified because you got a choice about the way you could be, and you're not choosing to go in the direction of that peace and love. So whatever you're upset about is not justified. This kind of stuff is in this book in my perception. I'm like going, oh my God. Then it goes, well, Purdy, do the workbook lessons. If you do the workbook lessons, you can translate this from theory into practical application in your everyday life. Because if you can't use it in your everyday life, it has no value. It has no meaning. If it's just something you sit around and theoretically talk about, that's just a form of mental masturbation. And people call it learning and studying and growing. But if I listen to this, and then as soon as I walk out the door, I'm cussing somebody out, then I didn't hear it. But because of the way you're programmed, because of the ego's training, you may react before you know it because you've been accustomed to doing it that way. Well then, since you know that's the case, you need to start seeing it as your call for love, your call for help, your call for God. That's what the book says you should do. Because that's what it is. You need help. And your anger is you asking for it. But don't you dare tell yourself you are taking the high road by letting everybody else know how PO'd you are about everything they do and how angry you are at what they're doing. Somehow they made you the superior one. Because what you just did was increase that idea of anger and attack in your own mind, so you create more of it in your own perception of your own life. You just made more crap for yourself. Because the people who are angry like you start to be attracted to you, and that's what you perceive. So you see more and more reasons to be mad and upset with people because they are reflecting back to you your own anger and scripts and upsets, because only the mind is real. So you are sharing ideas and thoughts and making those thoughts bigger. Those thoughts are manifesting. You get mad at the thing on the outside, like going to a movie trying to change what's on the screen by going up to the screen. And you don't change what's going on at a movie by going up to the screen. You have to go up in where? The projection booth. Your mind is your projection booth. So it's important that you get a firm projection. Amen. I'm stopped here. I never let my subject matter, by the way, get in the way of what I have to say. That's why we didn't get too far today. Because I swear this voice be going like, say this from here, you know. So I'm going to do a little quick 1-2 minute recap in a minute. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation or donation, I would love that. I have no shame. Because I'm teaching. It's not like I'm doing nothing up here. You know, it's like it ain't charity, but I thank you so much. Because I am giving to myself. But let me tell you something. From teaching the Course in Miracles full time for 35 years, there's one thing you will learn. Because people come and go, and that's natural. That's the way it should be. But you will really learn that you're being sustained by something that's more than you when you fulfill your function. There's no way you can fulfill your function and not be taken care of. I'll say it again. It's no way you're fulfilling your function and having lack. And then you go, well, what is my function? Well, your function is to be a demonstration of what love and truth and peace really looks like, according to what Spirit is teaching you. That's your number one function, is to be a teacher of love, a demonstrator of love. Well, where should I do that? It's wherever, it's you doing whatever it is that inspires you and it's the thing you're attracted to and the thing you love. What do you mean, Purdy? If I am inspired by the idea of being an actor, but I know my function is to be a truth, peaceful, loving, conscious being in the world, well, then I know that the place I'm supposed to be doing that function is on stage in a movie or acting, because that's what I feel inspired to do to express myself. The ego, the wrong voice, listen to me now, it will say, and I find this a lot in counseling, it'll say, you're an actor and you can't make money being an actor. The ego is going to always boil it down to whether you think this is something you can make money from really quick or to take care of yourself or not, because you left God out. You left that if you do your function, God, Spirit, the divine is going to provide for you. So the problem is not that you're trying to be an actor, and that's why you have lack. The problem, of course, in Miracles says, is your lack of faith. That's why, even though you want to be a musician, you're working in the factory because of your lack of faith. And if it was something you felt inspired, that was God's way of letting you know that's what you should be doing, but you have a lack of faith. I left a very lucrative job in the business world to teach a course in miracles and on a donation basis. But I could not do it. It was my calling. It inspired every cell in my body. I had to do it. And God has never not provided for me, because I was doing my function in the form that moved me. We all have, the Course in Miracles says, we all have the same function, which is to be demonstrators of truth and God and love and peace. Our function is to think differently from how the world thinks. That's our function, is to be here and don't think like anybody else thinks, who believes in fear and anger and separation and differences and projection. We're supposed to be the living demonstration that there's another way a human being can be. We're not here to do it the way that it's always been done. We're not here to learn all. It's like it's two choices when you learn spiritual stuff and you do awakening. You become aware of the truth that we're the creators of our experience and the power of thought and the power of our spirit. And we either take that knowledge of how to manifest, and he said, and we use it to try to have a better ordinary life. So a lot of people study New Thought and Spirit and divine things so they can have a better ordinary life. They're studying it so that they can have more money in their bank account, a better house, a better car, a better career, their soulmate. There's nothing, you're not being condemned for that. Don't get me wrong. You're not. That's a choice. And you're innocent if you make that choice. But there are two choices. You can either take everything that you're learning and hearing from me to try to figure out how to deal with all the ordinary life you're living and trying to make it better, or I was told you could also want to be the part of the creation of something totally new and different that's never been seen before by God. Mm-hmm. That's the two choices. And I did the choice of, I want to be a part of something that's new, the next thing the Spirit is really wanting to create and evolve into. So that's kind of risky, because you don't know exactly what form that's going to take, but it's only risky in the sense that you're not absolutely sure the form is going to take, but it's absolutely not risky in terms of whether or not you're going to be taken care of. That part isn't risky. What's risky is you living your life without doing anything that turns you on and moving in the direction of something that motivates you. I'm just dropping all of these little things from the Course. Sometimes I feel compelled to do that because my judgment and perception is that people don't know they have the answer to everything they think they're going through right now, sitting right next to them or on a bookcase, and they're not doing it. And so I like to share, because this book says so many powerful things like that. You know, that I'll remove all the obstacles before you get to them. I know you have needs. I will give them to you as long as you won't use what I give you to hang around more in separation and the illusion of the world. I'm not going to give you what you ask for just to keep you unconscious. You know, so if you're going to use what I'm asking you for just to take yourself deeper into specialness and separation, and then I'm not going to give it to you because you really need to be moving more toward love and truth and peace and happiness. That's my will for you, is that you be happy. And then it says the only purpose of a relationship is to make happy. You all get into it for your specialness and you want security and you don't want to be alone and you want to travel with somebody on the trip. But really, there's only one reason why you should be with anyone, for the happiness that you all generate with each other. That's it. So if you hang around people and you're never happy and you're sad and depressed and they don't excite you, then you're actually using those people to keep you unhappy. Woo. Then one more thing he said that's powerful. I'm going to just do it to you. Might not ever see you no more, but I'm going to do it. All right. He says, God is irresistible, which is the same as saying love is irresistible. That's why we keep on going for it no matter what. He said, that's why you're never satisfied. You're not satisfied because you know everything you give yourself is less than what you deserve. That every dream you have that you follow separate from spirit, every new fantasy you come up with, the Course of Miracles says that it doesn't satisfy you permanently or more than a little while because you deserve more than you're giving yourself. Number one. And then it says love is irresistible, which is God is irresistible. So that means when you're in the presence of real love, somebody who's really emanating real love, they would be irresistible to you. All your defenses would drop. They would melt. So it's okay that you've been closed and defensive and shut down because you haven't been in the presence of somebody that's really, really radiating love at a level you can receive it yet. Because when you are, you won't be wondering if can I trust them? You haven't been in the presence of love in your perception yet. Do I love them? No. Why? Because you're asking yourself, do I love them? If you did, there would be no doubt. You want to do one more test? The next time you say you love somebody, ask yourself, can I also really say and mean, I completely trust you totally? Because that's what I love you means. And that'll be a quick test about how many people you love.
I love anybody.
And don't feel bad about it because you're surrounded by a world full of people just like you. So you're not alone now. Don't think you're the only one that that has not developed trust yet. And here's the beautiful part. The beautiful part is no matter how you feel about yourself, whether you have insecurities, whether you don't really trust yet and you're confused, you are going to be totally loved and supported by God, that which created you. You're being taken care of. Your being taken care of and loved is not based on whether you deserve it. That's human love. Our Creator is loving us unconditionally, regardless of our fears, our insecurities, our rebelliousness, our stubbornness, all that stuff. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. Your kid could be crazy and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but that doesn't stop you from taking care of them anyway, in most cases. In most cases. And so that's what the Course in Miracles is trying to teach us. What's taking so long for you to be happy is you're still your own teacher. So, like I was saying earlier before I went off on the tangent that God made me go off on, is that if you'd like to make a financial appreciation of or whatever I'm talking about. Financial expression of appreciation.
You got it.
Thank you. You can use Zelle or Venmo or PayPal or the Cash App, and all you need is my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y. And I'm available for one-on-one coaching and mentoring and helping you take whatever you're going through that's your issue right now and show you how to do it and do it with you through the Course in Miracles. And the success that I've had through the Holy Spirit with doing this with people has been freaky, almost like supernatural, because I'm so familiar with this that I know every part of the book that specifically relates to what you're talking about, but you probably don't know. I can take you to that part and work it with you together. So it works, but we have to work it. On Sundays at 1 o'clock, Mountain Time, I do Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles, in person. And thank you, those of you who came today. If you want to come in person, and you're in the Denver, Colorado area, it's at 1555 Race Street. 1555 Race Street, 80206. And you can watch it online on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, and you can see the replay. And I have all my videos also on YouTube. And Thursdays, I do hardcore Course in Miracles for Course in Miracles students who are studying A Course in Miracles, and they want to take advantage of my 4 decades of working with this book so we can go deeper together. That's Thursday, 7 p.m. online on the Earl Purdy page. I call it Hardcore Course in Miracles. Okay, anybody's welcome, of course, to watch it, but this is especially geared toward people who are committed to it, dedicated to it. It spoke to them. They know they want to do it, and they want to take advantage of someone who is very familiar with it and experienced with it so they can save some time. So that's the purpose of my Thursday classes. It's for those who want to go deeper and get a clearer understanding of how to best approach this and to remember it. And it's so much fun to me. I love going deep. Don't you?
Yes.
So just take a breath for 1 minute. I don't want to do an abrupt cutoff. The love in you is the motivation for miracles. Only the mind is real. Only the mind is real. Only your mind is real. Only your mind is real. Only the mind is real. Only the mind is real. Only the mind can be shared. Only the mind can be shared. So if you really want to join with somebody, if you really want to connect with somebody, that connection doesn't happen with the body. That connection happens with the mind. Any idea that you want to see manifest, any idea that you want to see manifest, any idea that you want to see manifest, the more you share that idea, the stronger it becomes. So if you would like to experience love, prosperity, abundance, peace in your perception, freedom in your perception, share the idea of it. Share the idea of it. Share the thought of it. Share the thought of it, because thoughts manifest through the body into physical reality. The only thing that can be lacking in your life is what you are not giving. The only thing that can be lacking in your life is what you are not giving. But I am giving it. I know I'm giving it. I'll say it again. Whatever is lacking in your life is what you are not giving. Whatever is lacking in your life is what you are not giving. So give what you want to receive. Give what you want to receive. Give what you want to receive. If you want a life of peace, people who are peaceful, people who are joyful, then you can't be a hell-raiser yourself. You can't be someone that's attacking everybody yourself and you expect to have peaceful people in your life. So here's the idea that I want you to leave here with today. I am entitled to miracles. Tell yourself again now, I am entitled to miracles. One last time. I am entitled to miracles. Ah, mighty companions. See, this is my phone. This is my joy. You are my joy. You are my joy. You are my joy. We are one self, united with our Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, limitless in power and in peace. That's what we are. Hugs are available if you dare. And I'm willing to stick around for 15 minutes or so to talk and discuss anything that we heard today. I've been giving people that option. Okay? May the course be with you. Hey, Don, so good to see you.